I forgot. Is this coffee from here?
No, I
okay.
made it at home.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just been sitting there.
I got a Yeti from the wedding.
This is Emma's
Alex's
Yeti.
wedding I was in. It says
Oh, that was
Wisconsin
a
on
gift
it.
or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. But with an actual slidey lid. Somebody got me a Yeti once and it didn't have the black slider thing.
You have to like buy those separate or something.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's like
Oh.
$15 for a little like magnetic. They're all magnets.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think any of them come with it. You have to like buy it separate.
Okay. Well, that's something special.
Dirty Yeti dogs.
Well, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Every
What's-
time we make a podcast.
What's new with
well,
you?
it's been a while.
What's new with you, man?
I got married.
Yay! Isaac the married man.
Yep.
Yeah.
My little rubber ring. It's funny. Some people came into the coffee shop like a couple days ago, and they're like, "Oh, I heard you got married. Let's see the ring." And I was like showing it to them. They're like, "Oh, it's so nice. I love it." I was like, "It's just a rubber ring. It's really not nice." And they were like, I was like, I should have just left them alone and let them say it was nice. But I was like, telling them how not nice it is.
Go outside, look at the tire. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's just smaller. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't see any reason to like have a $300 ring.
No. There's
I just don't really care. I'm not like a super sentimental person like that. So I was like,
I'm
no, I
not-
can wear this and I
yeah.
don't have to worry about if I lose it or if it gets ruined or something.
Yeah. No,
Whatever.
for sure. That makes
But yeah.
sense. Well, that's legit. Married.
Married and living with a wife now.
Yeah. That's good that you two are living together.
And then that's another super weird thing. Me and Emma both have had multiple people ask us if we're like living together after we told them we're married. We're like, yeah, we just got married. They're like, oh, nice. Are you guys living together? And I'm like,
Why wouldn't you live together?
I don't know.
What else? Is that a new fad? Is that a
Either
new
that
thing?
or maybe they think that like we're, I don't know. Maybe they don't understand our like faith or something, and they think
Maybe.
we have some strange like because we're Christians, like you get married but you don't live together
Can never live together.
or something weird.
Never.
I don't know. Maybe they think I'm like a Catholic priest and I'm like still celibate, but
The
I'm
amount
just
of people
married.
that, yeah.
Like they hear you're in ministry and they just automatically assume, oh,
priest?
you're a priest.
Oh, I thought priests couldn't get married.
Yeah.
I remember when I moved here to Sparta, a lot of people would ask me, so what does your like dad do? And I was like, he's a pastor. And he's like, I thought pastors couldn't have kids. And I'm like, it's not the same thing.
That's not a
It's not the same thing
pastors
at
can
all.
have kids. Priests cannot have kids.
Right. Which actually, perfect segue into the topic. Pastors, aka just ministry in general. Because
Yeah.
what stirred up that idea was I've had, dude, so many people. I don't know if it's just the people that I surround myself with or what, but so many people I know have mentioned to me about wanting to get into ministry. And not just like volunteer in ministry, but actually like have a specific target area of ministry that they want to do. I don't know necessarily if it's fully vocational or not, but they want to be in ministry like super bad. So I thought it'd be cool to talk about
Yeah.
the preparation of getting into ministry, what ministry is like, what that whole thing is when it's actually like your full-time or even just part-time, but I mean like when it's a major component of your life. Because I mean technically, right, all Christians should have some sort of ministry flowing from their life, you know, the Great Commission or so on. But when it comes to vocational ministry or, you know, a lot of different people I know just have like these different callings in their life that they want to do, write a Bible study or do a podcast or whatever, and all these different things. And it's like, I want to encourage those people. And one, I don't want to sit here and act like the professional on anything, but some experience, 8 8-ish, 9-ish years in ministry.
Yeah.
Decent amount of.
That's solid.
I always compare it to my dad, and he's like 35 years,
Well,
and
yeah,
so I'm
but
like, yeah. But
very few people even
yeah.
spend 8 years in ministry.
It's
If you look at it, it's actually
it is actually
not that.
it's starting to
common of a
turn
thing.
into a short-term like life plan. Ministry is for people.
Well, I think really what it is a lot of people are all excited about getting into ministry, and then they realize what it really is, and they go, "Oh,
dude.
maybe I don't want to do this." And then
And that's something that like we could talk about is like the fact that yes, you're called to ministry, and when you imagine ministry and ministry that you're called to, all you really think about is those God moments.
Yeah.
All you think about is, oh, I'm going to say this and it's going to change lives and God's going to work, and I believe that to be true, and I'm not discounting that. None of this is to disqualify, but there are so many things that go into your life and who you are that feeds into ministry.
Yep.
And all that different stuff. I actually was writing down some stuff because I was like, shoot, this would actually be like good stuff to remember. But
it's crazy how much of ministry is not what you see on a Sunday morning on the pulpit.
Yeah.
Like, what people observe ministry to be on a Sunday or a Wednesday night or whatever, that's probably like 15% of what real ministry is.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, this is just the little tiny like pieces here and there, but yeah, people look at preaching the sermon, but like the rounds you do before you preach on a Sunday, like walking, shaking this person's hand, talking to these people, making yourself seen, making yourself available, going around saying hi, even just saying hi to this person, like that's part of ministry. And here's the deal. Sometimes you have to say hi to the people that you don't like. Like that's just a reality. Yeah. Once you step into ministry, it doesn't go away. Your feelings don't go away. It would be super nice if your feelings went away.
Yeah.
But yeah, your feelings don't go away. So it's like you still have to battle, oh, I'm having a bad day. Well, guess what? You still have to go over and like
do what you got.
Yeah, do ministry. And part of ministry is noticing where people are at. And I feel like when you are technically a pastor, I guess this doesn't apply to all forms of ministry, because if you're just trying to like write a Bible study or travel and speak and stuff like that, but like when you're a pastor and you have a ministry that you're in charge of, youth group, college ministry, senior pastor, you can't it feels like you can't be bad at anything.
Yeah.
Like, you're gifted in the ability of this, but you still have to do this.
You kind of end up just needing to do like
everything.
Everything. It's really true. Unless you're at like some mega church that's able to hire a staff member for every single position. We have a tech pastor.
Yeah.
There's like a pastor for every single thing that usually volunteers do and stuff. Yep. Otherwise, you're just kind of the utility. You just become like a utility person.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Jack of all trades, ministry wise. But
yeah,
before we get too far into like ministry, actually leading up to ministry, like going through life, things that, so for me, I was thrown into ministry when I was not ready. I can firmly say that. I was 19. I was 19, just got back from North Central, which at North Central completely screwed around, was not a good person. My spiritual life was a mess. Just wasn't good. And then I come back home, and I'm not going to say my spiritual life was phenomenal, but it was getting better, mostly because I wasn't around anybody. But there was that was the start of the physical and mental health decline, because I wasn't doing anything. I was working and playing video games, and that was it. I wasn't doing anything to help myself, basically. Then fast forward like 6 months, start the internship. 6 months later, get hired on full time. No real significant training, a little bit hands-on and some interning work and stuff like that, but a lot of it had to do with just watching my dad growing up and stuff like that. So I feel like I was always one of those people that knew it in my mind, had some like talent to work with, but didn't work hard because I just thought it came easy. And I think what I wish I would have known leading up to ministry, what I needed to have in my personal life and like togetherness in my life. No, you can't be perfect, and I'm not saying you should be perfect before you go into ministry.
Yeah. Totally.
But there needs to be some qualities and things that you need to like know and practice and have.
It would, yeah. It would just be, it would make it a whole lot easier, and you can avoid a lot of mistakes and heartache in ministry.
Yes.
Because, I guess the biggest way you learned probably and prepared for ministry was just by being in ministry and just like making mistakes or just on the job learning how to do it.
Yes.
That is a route to take, but it's just gonna be.
It can affect the other people that you're ministering to.
Right. It's a little more high risk because. Yeah. Like, so let's say you're really preparing, or you're at school and really preparing. It's like you can still get experience in those times too. Yeah. That's really valuable. But the perk there is like people aren't really relying on you yet. You know, people aren't looking to you yet. And so you have like that time to make mistakes, to fail, and kind of work out some of the stupidity you have. Yes. and work on some disciplines and stuff before it, you know, it kind of matters more, and you have people looking to you. And there's positives and negatives to both, because also you probably learned so much from just diving right in that you would have never learned at North Central, right? Like just sitting in a classroom. And so you also have experience under your belt. Yeah. Like now, you know, that a lot of people coming out of school going into ministry won't have, you know. Right. So,
and I think like one of the there's so many things that I wish I knew it before I had gotten into ministry, but one of them is deal with major sin issues in your life before you step into ministry. Yeah, get a handle on those.
I would definitely agree,
because as somebody who, I'm not going to say I didn't deal with it, but I wasn't struggling with them, but it was because of the situation I was in. It was more of like dormant or in remission. Yeah. And then as soon as opportunities presented themselves, I would fail. So then it was this constant battle. At that point in time, I wasn't struggling with pornography. But I was just struggling with other sin issues in my life. And any point that I got in a relationship, just really struggling with lust and how to battle those relationships, commitment issues. And then it made me just all sorts of crazy, just my mental, like I said, the start of my mental and physical health decline was when I came home from North Central. I wasn't in ministry yet, but then it caused me to go into it, and I literally threw myself into ministry as in, this is going to perfect my spiritual life. This is going to perfect me. This is going to be like the best thing ever. And now I'm like, not that I thought I was perfect, but this is going to make me perfect, essentially. Yeah. Which we'll talk about in detail, but being a pastor doesn't fix your spiritual life. Yep. Doesn't fix any sin issues. Doesn't make you immune to anything. And in fact, I would say it actually ups the ante on how much you feel spiritually attacked.
If anything, it will actually expose where you're lacking spiritually.
Yes. Yeah, and you'll realize that really fast, which then branches into people being critical of you. Yeah. Because everybody will be.
Which is what makes it also harder to deal with sin issues when it's starting to be critiqued by every single person around you. You know, now all of a sudden your life is on display for everyone to.
Yep, you are being watched constantly, and so you know it. I don't want anybody to read into it like an excuse, but like being a pastor's kid, then becoming like a pastor. It was just constant fishbowl, so there was always a reason to hide my issues. Yeah. I was never able to like talk about openly any of my issues with anyone, because then they would run and tell my mom and dad, or they would tell my siblings, who would then tell my dad and mom, which my mom and dad finding out probably wasn't a bad thing, but when you're a kid, in your mind you're like, I don't want these people to know. Yeah. And I just want to deal with these sin issues. So it caused me to go from a place where I couldn't talk about issues to another place where I couldn't talk about issues. And then you're sitting there dealing with it on your own. They don't usually get fixed. Yeah. They usually don't. Thankfully, I was able to have some people around me that really did, like, I don't want to say catch me as in like, ooh, there was something to catch me in, but like that would see these things.
Yeah.
That would know these things without me even, when I was trying to hide, and that accelerated a healing process and grace and a transformation in my life that didn't make anything perfect, because I'm still being perfected, although we can talk about whether that's achievable, but you know what I'm saying, like sanctified, I should say, becoming sanctified. But with that came a lot of like touchy issues, pride, disrespect, developing thick skin in ministry. And it's not even just like thick skin per se, it's understanding that it doesn't always matter what people are saying or think of you if you are doing what the Lord's called you to do.
Yeah.
The way that he's called you to do it. But there's a balance, which this is one of those things, you need discernment in ministry. You have to have discernment, because if somebody comes to you and, I always talk about this, but like writes you a big long email, there's parts of it that could be true that you need to apply, even though they worded it awful and they were jackknobs and treated you like crap. There could be pieces of truth in that, despite how they said it. So you need to be able to see the truth without taking the hurt feelings and without taking everything and just what's true in that and then applying it to your life, even if it means this person was a sucky person in how they told you.
Yeah.
But like that right there is a huge skill that I still have not been the best at. I've gotten way better than I used to be, but I used to hate when people would criticize me.
Yeah.
Or feel disrespected. I would freak out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you definitely have to. That's where, like, just know, being sure of who you are in Christ and sure of what God's called you to do, and just being sure that you're doing what he's called you to do. Sometimes, you do just need to block out. You need to recognize what voice needs to have validity in your life and what voice just doesn't need to, And again, you can still pull things from even unnecessary criticism or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just really important that kind of ties into, again, making sure you have your spiritual life in order and knowing who you really are in Christ, making sure you're having sin issues somewhat under control. Again, you don't have to be perfect, but it is important to have your life kind of on track spiritually and pretty grounded in Christ and who you are, you know? Because if you're not grounded in that, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna, like, the people will get to you, or like ministry is just tough. It gets hard, and you can't afford to be lacking spiritually or be standing on a bad foundation, like you need to have a firm, solid foundation in Christ and who you are, and an understanding of his grace and his mercy and all the, like you do need to be solid spiritually and keep yourself sharpened, and it helps being sharp moving into it, but then also keeping your own spiritual life a priority while you're in ministry. Again, being in ministry does not solve your spiritual problems. It doesn't make you more spiritual. It's just, it really does put more pressure on you spiritually. And so I would say it's actually more important to take care of your own spiritual life while you're in ministry than when you were even preparing for ministry. Like, it ups, for sure ups the ante, I think. And so, I don't know. I just think that is something to just be kind of realistic about. If you're thinking about getting in ministry, do come prepared, There is a point to where, yes, like, God will equip people with what they need when they enter into ministry, but also make sure you're somewhat prepared. Take your preparation season seriously. And build good disciplines, good habits in your preparation season, so that they can be ready, so that you're ready to be tested when it comes to actually being in ministry,
When all I could think about when I was at North Central was, man, I'm so sick of this, I just want to be in ministry. But I was never preparing or dealing with the issues that I had. And even through the first few years of being actually for the first year of being the youth pastor, I took it very seriously and I was super disciplined. But that's part of that gung-ho, like, yeah, I'm ready. And then to find myself, falling into this kind of apathetic state, which I think, developed the mental health and the decline of a lot of that as well. Like the mental health was just like decline, plateau, kind of a thing. And during the next decline was when I just was apathetic, lazy, feeling like, oh, no matter what I do, it's not good enough for these people. But really, I had to think about what's good to God. Like, what am I doing? And questioning my place in all of this. But if the Lord has brought you to this place, then he's the one that can take it away. Despite how people said or what they said, how they disrespected or whatever, you're still the person in that ministry. Despite the hate comments or whatever it is, you are still the person doing this. And it's like what we did with the youth leaders recently. It's like you have to remember your why.
Yep.
And my why was faulty. And that's why it's like, I still think the Lord, by his grace, worked out good things through my first few years of ministry.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of things through that I feel bad because and it's really hard to talk about because it's like I have to admit the fact that I sucked and that, there were still good things that came out of it. And there's still a lot of people that see me as whatever, like good youth pastor. But there's a lot of things that, like, for me, I'm like, man, I wasn't even close to where I wanted to be. And I think that was not right. And all these different things that go into that. And a lot of that stemmed from me not upkeeping the spiritual life that I have. And I even struggle with it to this day. I'm way better with it. But struggle with it that, like, your own personal devotions, that doesn't include if you're taking classes. That doesn't include, like, listening to a sermon. That doesn't include prepping for your sermon. It has to be like your devotional time for your spiritual life. That is where I still struggle to this day.
Totally.
There's sometimes where I'll prepare for a sermon and I'm like, well, that's devotional time. But it's yes and no. Because for me, I guess the way that I view it, which maybe not be the same for everybody, okay? But the way that I view it is like, that's me prepping a sermon because it's my job. Not because of my love for the Lord. Yes, I do love the Lord, so I prep the sermon and I do that, yes. But, like, me going out of my way, like, I love you, Lord, and I want to get to know you, so I am going to do this and spend that time with him in prayer and in worship and in so on. I think that is still something that I battle with to this day, but I'm way better at than I ever was. It's more like now it's like I've pushed myself to the point now where it's like, man, why don't you remember those like 10 verses? You know what I mean? Like now it's like, why don't you remember the verses that you were going over? Why can you not pull them to memory and where they were? I can usually remember the verses. I can't remember where they are. That's the sort of thing. Because then, I talk to someone like my dad and I'm like, okay, you just memorize the Bible? Was that what it is? But no, it's...
I mean, I also agree that it's like, it's been pretty hard for me as well to maintain just my own personal spiritual life and personal devotion. Because you're just like, ministry is super demanding. Even, I'm just doing it part-time, but it feels very like demanding and you're just very busy doing things for the Lord or for ministry. And it could just be hard to even like prioritize your personal spiritual life,
Oh yeah.
And it can be kind of like you can kind of almost forget you haven't been prioritizing it, you know, because it's like I'm still doing like spiritual things.
Freaking come to the church. I come to the Holy Land.
And so it is very hard to do, but it's very essential to. It's something we can't compromise. But that's again why in your preparation season, before you fully stepped into ministry, develop good spiritual disciplines, develop personal spiritual disciplines, because those things will hold you up when you're in ministry and you're getting busy or it's getting hard or getting tough.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you go into ministry and you already don't have a good spiritual life personally, or you're already don't have spiritual disciplines,
You end up like me.
then you're not gonna all of a sudden get better at it. It'll just, you have a hard time playing catch up once you're in ministry, because
Yeah.
you're gonna have that much less time to invest in that. It's gonna be that much harder
Yeah.
to invest in your own personal life spiritually. So
Oh, yeah.
in your preparation time, do not miss out on the opportunity you have to build spiritual discipline and to make good investment in your personal spiritual life.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna need that. You're gonna need what you invest in your preparation season once you've actually stepped into ministry.
Oh, yeah. No. And I think part of that was one of the things that I wrote down was like ministry, hard work. There's two parts to this, hard work and rest. And I want to talk about what those are, but like starting with the hard work aspect. This might be just some of my own personal insecurity coming out, but also I feel like there's a lot of people that, one of the reason why I feel like some people want to do ministry is because they've looked at my work schedule and they see it as, this is so awesome. And especially as a youth pastor, play golf, go fishing, play video games, run around, go to a movie, like, and there's days, where I'm working and playing video games at the same time. Like, that's how it is. There are some weeks, and sometimes those weeks string together, where it's awesome.
Yeah.
But, and this is not a, oh, woe is me, or look how professional I am, and ooh la la, like anything like that. But the times that you're not with me are the times where it's like 1 a.m. and I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about the spiritual aspect of the youth group, or I'm being haunted by my own mistakes and I'm having a spiritual battle going on, or spiritual anxiety where it's just this fight that I'm going through that interrupts my sleep, that interrupts some relationships I have, that interrupts different things like that, that causes me to struggle with my mental health or struggle with my physical health, because both of those are super important in ministry as well. But there's all these things that go into that the hard work, what people perceive it as, can sometimes even criticize you. Like you said, the Sunday morning sermons, people look at that and like, oh, you're doing your job, but then they don't see the other part of the work, which, yes, sometimes it's really easy. Then there's sometimes where there's like 4 funerals in a row, and you got camp, and you got this. And I'm not saying I've ever had that exact schedule, but like there's heavily weighing things that happen in and out of ministry. And like you said, you're just part-time, but really it's full-time. Like I don't think I ever turn off my brain to ministry. And I've even been reminded lately where I could be surrounded by friends and family and I'm like, relax, and then somebody says something and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, this is not a safe spiritual atmosphere. On guard. Like, and not on guard like, ooh, I'm ready to attack, but like, whoa, Brock, don't get too relaxed, because then you'll get loose and you'll just think it's conversation, and then all of a sudden you'll fall into some sin. Like, you'll fall into sin. Like, at a party the other day, and this person was spouting off about politics and this and that and ripping the military. And I was at a family thing, and I'm just like chilling, and all of a sudden I'm like, don't say anything. Fool in their folly, let them have their way, and you don't need to share all these things. Like, it was just this moment of boom, and it's this work that never ends. It just never ends,
And that,
even in the middle of your rest.
that is one of the it's so true.
Because I think you have to be.
It's one of
ready.
the hardest things about ministry.
Pardon me.
Is because you are always in ministry at all times. Like, you have specific office hours,
Yes,
but you don't leave it in the
that's
office.
the vocation.
Yeah, but it
job,
follows you
though.
outside of the
Yeah.
office, and you're dealing with people who operate outside of just your office hours, you know, and like, yes, there's spiritual battle that happens even when you're not in the office, you know. It's like, and it's something you have to be constantly engaged in, and like the way that you live outside of your designated I'm doing ministry time still matters. Like, yeah, you're at a family event, whatever, but the way you act there still matters, and it will affect your ministry, you know. Like, let's say me or you are just hanging out with friends and we just act like an idiot, like that can hurt our ability to minister to someone
Right.
later on, you know? And so you can't afford to just take a day off and just do whatever you want, you know? And that gets very exhausting. And I would say another thing that's very exhausting about ministry is because you don't often really feel seen or appreciated, I think, because people don't understand what, like, people do kind of have this perception of like, oh, it's just easy, it's fun, or all you got to do is just preach on a Sunday and then you just kind of hang out with people throughout the week. And people don't understand the sacrifice and how hard you are working and what you're giving and how much you have to put yourself to the side and your own wants, your own desires, you know, how much it takes to even get up on a Sunday and preach. Like, I think that even gets underappreciated, how hard that actually is to do. And so just feeling underappreciated sometimes is exhausting. Not that it's about getting seen or appreciated, but just as humans, like, when we're working hard and when we're like, you know, doing the best we can, it's like we have this natural desire to feel appreciated or recognized, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you feel like your work is being overlooked or underappreciated, there's something kind of draining about that, you know? Or like people will just even say things like that are kind of insensitive, like not even on purpose, but like you can just tell they don't really fully appreciate like the work you're putting in or whatever, you know? Like, I don't know, there's that element too that can just make ministry exhausting sometimes, even if it's not. Ministry isn't always physically exhausting in that, like, oh, I'm like doing so much in the office. It's like emotionally and spiritually draining, you know? And I would say that's more exhausting than like physical labor. Like, honestly, I've barely even been doing like ministry for a year. And there's some days where I'm like, man, just a 9-to-5 job sounds really nice right now.
Sounds really freaking nice.
Where I can walk in and just do my little assembly line work, and I'm not responsible for anyone. I don't have to worry about, I could be completely checked out emotionally. I don't have to think about anything. I could just sit there and do my job. Nobody cares if I'm there or not, really. You know, like, there's just days where it's like you just get tired of being.
Because there's no part of this that I'm not 100% over 100% emotionally invested.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no part of this.
It's such an emotional investment, and
there's no part of it.
It's hard.
It is. And it's super difficult.
So just don't underestimate the commitment of ministry and the challenge of ministry. And so I think that's why it is so important to understand what you're getting into when you're going into ministry, and that's why it's important to understand the call towards ministry. Like, you need to really know that you're called. Like, I would encourage you to like know what the Lord's calling you to do. Like, know if He's really calling you to that, because it's not something you just kind of willy-nilly sign up
I'm
for.
just gonna do this.
You know, like, I mean, you can do that, but I don't know if you're gonna last super long if you're not 100% ready to stay committed to it. Yeah. Because it's really not glorified. No. At all. It's tough.
And that's the thing is, like, on top of that, like, if you've listened to this now and you've heard us say that, if you go into ministry, even if it's your own little volunteer, whatever you're deciding to do, you have no excuse now to get bitter or hard-hearted, because you know now. Yeah. Like, this isn't just our experience. This is many people, and it's one of the biggest reasons why pastors actually step out of ministry is burnout or problem with the congregation, as far as bitterness, resentment, and so on. So now you know that that's a trap. So be on the lookout for that. Another reason to keep your spiritual disciplines in check. Yeah. But then there's also there's some people that I've talked to where it's like, well, that's not why you do it. That's not why you do it. And they can come up to me and tell me, well, that's not why you do it. That's not why you do it. And they're very bullheaded, and they're very arrogant in the way that they think, well, that's not why you do it, Brock or Isaac or whoever. You know, you should be able to do it from the Lord and be fine. Okay. Do it for 8 years and let me know how you feel sometimes. And let me know if you had the best attitude, because here's the deal. It is a constant battle of spiritual life, what God has given us, and flesh. And there's times where the mental and emotional aspect of it, to be encouraged, it's why the Bible says give praise where praise is due. There's some pastors that, you know what, they're not perfect pastors, but they deserve a little bit of praise. They deserve a little bit of recognition, because guess what? It brings them life and encouragement to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, we're not perfect. There's people with flesh and flaws, and they need that encouragement to kind of give them a little bit of a spark. And you know what? You want to sit there and say to me, well, that's not why you do it. You don't do it for the glory of what people tell you. Okay, yeah, you're right. Guess what? Only one of us is doing it though right now. So back off. Number one. And I'm not trying to get like heated or whatever, but I'm just saying there's a misunderstanding there. And some of those people I know who would say something like that want to get into ministry. By all means do it. But I'm going to tell you this. That attitude is good, but that attitude also has trap doors. And your trap doors are, you are going to find a problem when you realize that you have to have humility and submission to authority. Whether it be that you have a boss, or just submission to the Lord. That arrogance is against what the Lord has for your life. That's why he hates pride. Pride is against the Lord. That's just plain and simple. And if you can't, make sure you rein that in, and it's not your mentality of, well, I don't do it for people, I do it for the Lord. No, that's true. But I'm saying in response to somebody in the way that you have pride, like I can do it better than you, you gotta watch out for that. And if you can hear what I'm saying and understand, I'm not trying to call out or be critical or anything like that. I'm just saying, because I know there's people, I've met so many people over the years that have thought that, and I'm gonna go into ministry because I can do it better than you. Or, why do you think like that? It's not about that. It's like, okay, yes, all right.
Yeah.
But just check yourself, because you need humility and you need to be able to submit to authority. Because I know some people that show up to an interview and like if their boss was like, well, yeah, but normally when you lead worship, we need you to change your outfit. What? No. Okay, peace out. What? Like, just change your outfit. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's learning to submit to that authority placed over you, because the way you submit to that is the way you submit to the Lord, and you're doing it unto the Lord.
Yeah.
So the same thing that you're saying on the other side, the same thing there. But that brings me to, well, I don't want to skip over rest, but it had me thinking about another thing. But relationships in ministry. And I'm not talking about, well, it could be romantic relationships, but I was speaking more on, I think it is one of the most lonely jobs.
Yeah, it can be.
Because, so, it's hard to describe, but there's some like truth to it, is like, I can have a friend, but I can never be fully transparent with that friend. Because of this reason. It has nothing to do with wanting to hide anything going on in my life, but because we're human, if I divulge, hey, I've been struggling this, like, not that it's a bunch of struggles or it's some crazy awful thing, but anytime that you show like weakness, it affects how you can minister to that person.
Yeah.
So I can't be buddy friends with everybody in my congregation. Not that I have but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, the people that you affect, you want to be open and honest. And I believe that we should be open and talk about our past and all these things, and we should be talking about our testimony. I'm not saying you should hide anything, but when it comes to like super close friends, you have to be like really careful on that. Because it just is. It is that way.
Yeah, it just is what it is. It's like, it'd be nice to say like, oh, well, it shouldn't be that way, or people just shouldn't respond that way, but
guess what?
people
they do.
still do respond that way. Like, that's such a real thing. And I know so many pastors, if you ask any pastor, the majority of them would probably say that and agree with you.
Yeah.
That you just need to be careful about who you divulge
One, because they
into.
can affect you as well.
Yeah.
They could drag you down or build you up, but like also just from your own aspect, because I've been burned enough times by people, because I just, for the first 5 years of ministry, it was just constantly being burned, getting hurt, going through a huge mental ordeal of like, oh, I'm never going to trust anyone, and then dealing with this own personal crap, and then doing it again and getting burned, and then just this constant rotation of stuff. And it's like it's frustrating, and it's difficult, and it makes things very difficult. That's why it's like sometimes I'll just say a prayer like, Lord, can you just like, I forget the word. I prayed it before, but I'm just like, Lord, can you just come to me and just like comfort me in the way that it would be that if I had a friend here? Can you just come and like hug me? Like, can you just come and like bring whatever this is that I need? Because right now I don't have anybody that I can get this from or talk to or whatever. Like, Lord, can you just come and like fill this need in my heart? And then also praying for, Lord, can you bring me a friend like that I can do this, where it's, it's not
totally
easy. But some of the people that I found in ministry, side note, some of the best people to be friends with is new believers.
Yeah.
Because they can just keep your fire going.
Yeah.
Because they're so on fire themselves. Like, they're so, I love it.
And they're
like a kid.
I feel like you can trust them with letting them see where you fall short, because like
They have more.
they've like just come out of that, and I feel like
They
they have
almost
a
have more
fresh
grace.
understanding of like the grace they've
Yeah,
received,
yeah.
and they're so much more ready to like show that grace to others a lot of times. But
Newer believers, they'll just say like, "Oh man, well we all mess up," like it's just.
it's
Thank
kind
you.
of
Thank you.
It's just a very simple.
And it's no excuse to just keep getting away with sin in my life.
No.
That's not what we're saying, but like just that somebody would have that understanding and grace,
Yeah.
and be able to show that, like, and because you watch them and their hunger for stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it inspires so many like passionate messages in this, and like, and it really trapdoor though. I think everything kind of has a trapdoor, so you just got to be careful. But the trapdoor is then you'll get frustrated with the old saints,
Yeah.
because then you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But no, relationships are tough, because then once again, that affects your mental, spiritual, and just all of that, your health overall. That's why being married in ministry is so nice. So nice.
Because you always have at least
Completely
that one
transform
person
my
you
ministry.
can be totally transparent with.
Oh, it completely transformed my ministry.
Yeah.
Completely transformed my ministry. But we could
So good.
we could backtrack quick and talk about rest.
Yeah.
So like the hard work aspect of how do you, because then when you hear about that, like that you're constantly, my brain is never turned off, it feels like, and spiritual life is never turned off.
Yeah.
How do you find rest?
Yeah. Well, I think, that is such an important thing. And it's something our culture doesn't really value, and Americans just don't really know how to do. Like we're used to just being busy all the time,
Yeah.
and just like going all the time. Even on our days off, we're like with people, we're going places, we're doing stuff. But I would say one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself in ministry and to invest in your own personal spiritual life is like have an actual Sabbath day, like have a day set aside for rest and try to protect that. And I don't know, I'm not good at it. It's like something on my mind that it's like I know I want to keep trying to work on and implement, but it's like hard for me even at times. It's just really hard to do. But seriously, that is one of the best things you could do for yourself to create longevity in ministry, to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
And I would just say it's an essential thing. I would really encourage you to work on in your preparation season, and really value when you're in ministry is set aside a whole day just for rest. And not just rest where it's like, okay, I'm just going to sit on my butt and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
But that can be a part of it.
Sure.
But make that day a priority to spend time with the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
To
Keep the Sabbath holy.
to be with God. Let that be a day to really set your focus on Him, not for any other reason than just to be with Him and just love God,
Oh, yeah.
And really protecting that day. I just think that's if you could structure that day, like say every Saturday is going to be my Sabbath day. I'm not going to schedule things with friends. I'm not gonna like work that day. I'm gonna work extra hard during the week so then I can have all my stuff done. So then I don't have to do anything on Saturday. If you can have that as like a weekly rhythm, I think that that'll do a lot for you in creating longevity in ministry and really help you just throughout the week when you're actually really engaging in ministry, because now you're able to have a full tank going into the week after having that day of rest. So I would just really encourage anyone to try to create that and make that a priority.
I just had a young pastor talk to me not that long ago about, they heard just different concepts about hard work and rest, and they feel like the pendulum has swung too far to rest, where there's not enough hard work being done. And I was like, I think it's case by case. You got to look at it. I think it's way too, you can't say the majority is one way or the other. Like, it's really difficult. You know, it depends on the individual. But I will say this is why a lot of people, they like do this rest, but then they don't feel rested, so then they try to rest more. And then that's where I think that pendulum does shift, where they're trying to rest, but it's because they don't feel satiated in their rest. And I think one of the reasons why our rest is not as rewarding is because we're not working hard. So not everybody, like I said, this is a general, and I don't just mean like what we talked about with the hard work, the spiritual, the emotional, it's always on. That's not what I mean is like physical. Because when you spend so much emotional, mental, spiritual, just driven, you're not actually doing anything with your body all the time. And if your body is not like expended, when you go to rest, your mind and your spirit and emotions are there, but your body and the way that your body functions is not going to feel restful because it's been resting already. And so, pardon me, that's why it's like, you know, we were created in the image of God, body, mind, we were created in the image of God, but we were created body, mind, and spirit. And I think each one of those has a priority. And like part of that rest, you have to like, so I've been kind of going off the deep end lately about some health type stuff, and not just physical health. I'm talking like all health, just your overall being, you know? And I learned about sleep lately is that your pre-sleep routine, nobody has one, but you need one. Because one, it's an hour before bed, just all electronics off, which fail. Like I'm awful at that, because the blue light from it, or wear blue light blocking glasses, the blue light, what it does is it convinces your brain that it's daytime. And then when you go to sleep, your brain actually is not sleeping. And it causes I got like 8 hours of sleep, but I feel, because of that. Yeah. Also, caffeine intake, even if you take caffeine in the morning, can affect your sleep that night. Like, it's crazy how it affects different people. But all that to say, what my comparison is that pre-sleep routine is you need like a pre-rest routine. And part of that is your work week, but also physically doing something. I'm kind of tired of seeing old school pastors, wonderful, spiritually, admire them, work. I admire all that they do, but they're like 150 pounds overweight. They are just eating their way to an early grave. Like, they just, you know what I mean? No, I'm not saying you can't eat and enjoy things. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I'm not trying to say you have to be like some physical, fit, amazing person. No, but those things can attribute to why rest is not rewarding. And why you don't, because that's the way God made us. He made our bodies to function this way, and we need to have certain things that help us with that. That's why sometimes, like you were saying with the hard work aspect, like a 9 to 5, that's why sometimes I love just stacking chairs. I'm physically doing something and I can just turn off my brain. Why I love splitting wood, why I used to love tossing hay bales. What it is, why I like to golf is because it's turn off my mind. Although with golf, I don't turn off my mind because I get, and I get into it, but it's motivated somewhere else. It's directing it somewhere else. But I think one of the reasons why rest sometimes cannot be rewarding, one, we fill that day with junk that shouldn't be there. 2, you're not keeping it holy, which I don't think the Lord is going to honor that Sabbath day unless you're keeping it holy, like spending time with the Lord. Like, you just need to do that. But then 2 is because of physical exertion throughout the week needs to be different. Even if it's just a walk, like go for a walk. And not only that, when you go for a walk, the sun, and if you do it with your wife or you do it with a friend or girlfriend, boy, whatever your life is like,
Yeah.
oh my word, what it does for your attitude, your mind, your mental, all of those things. It's why I've, been golfing as much as I have. It's why I've been trying to be a little more health conscious. It's not so that, I look physically fit and I'm trying to all these diets. And no, it's because I know that it directly affects my rest and how I bounce back spiritually and emotionally and so on because of my physical state of being. Yeah. When I sit in that chair all day and I go home and try to go to bed, I feel miserable. I have to do something. And so, yeah, and it does help with the mental health aspect of ministry. Because I'll be the first one to, like, shout out from the rooftops, like, mental health awareness, especially in ministry.
Yeah. Because
it's, like I said, you're literally talking about a job that doesn't get much recognition. It's not why we do it, but it matters. A job that can be lonely because relationships are hard to have. A job that is constantly on, almost never off. I don't care even if the pastors say, like, well, I turn off my cell phone after 5 at this time. It's still, my mind doesn't turn off. The spirit in my, like, my being in the Holy Spirit, I still feel like, something that never turns off and makes you feel depleted. Telltale, like, just those 4 things, telltale to drain your mental health and make you exposed to mental health attacks. 100%.
You can become so isolated in your mental health struggle, You feel like, I can't tell anyone I'm struggling mentally, I can't look weak or like I don't have it all together. Then it's just so bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, in general, we're just saying take care of yourself in every way. Take care of your mind, your body, and your spiritual life,
Like, if you can't do that without ministry, like, you have your life right now and you're working a 9 to 5 and you can't take care of some of these things, I'll be honest, you think stepping into ministry, like I did, stepping into ministry is going to make my life better. And, like, for a time it did because I was so gung-ho and passionate. Yeah. But at some point it hits, you run out of motivation. Yeah. And you need the disciplines.
Yep, totally.
You 100% do.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it's really important to actually it actually is really important to take care of yourself. And I know I, like, struggled with that for a little while. Like, I felt, like, bad about ever, like, doing anything for myself or, like, like, I didn't want to be like, oh, self-care, like, I was like, no, I don't matter. I need to, like, keep serving and keep giving. And, like, I was always such a yes man. Like, I just did everything I possibly could and got involved in everything. And then I experienced burnout, and then now I can't do anything. Right? And so, if, obviously, like, you got to balance between, like, it being all about all you do is for yourself and, like, still serving others. But just think of it in this way. If you struggle with that, by taking a little bit of time to take care of yourself, you're actually setting yourself up to give more in the long run, to serve, to be more effective in serving others in the long run. You're building longevity to serve. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But I don't know, we've talked a lot about just kind of what life in ministry can be like, what it can look like, and how to maybe prepare for it a little bit. But let's talk about a little bit, like, let's say somebody's finally to the point where they're like, all right, I want to, like, get in ministry. How does somebody start working in ministry? Like, how do you get your foot in the door? How do you do that, especially if you didn't go to North Central or didn't go to a university and don't have all the connections.
Have your dad be the senior. No, no, I think what I would highly recommend is this is like two birds, one stone. One, it's almost like a trial period. Two, you can see how you really feel about it.
Yeah.
And in a certain area of ministry. And then three, it can also get your foot in the door, is to volunteer. Mm-hmm. Start out with volunteering. Youth, whatever your idea of ministry is. And here's the other thing. Even if you're like, I really want to be a youth pastor, but they don't have any openings, and they're like, whoa, but we need help in our kids ministry. Mm-hmm. Do it. Don't think, well, that's not what I want to do. No, do it, because one, if you want to really get your foot in the door, they're going to see that. Mm-hmm. And they're going to see, wow, they did that even though their heart is here. Yeah. Two, you are first in line for the youth ministry when there might be an opening. And then the next thing is you're still getting practical ministry experience. Mm-hmm. You're still getting it. So I would recommend, first and foremost, wherever you're plugged in at church, which if you're not plugged in at a church and you're kind of bouncing to church, find the home church and get involved. I appreciate anybody that can go from church to church and they well, what church are we going to today? Okay, but at some point, I'm just going to say this, try not to be too harsh, but grow up and pick a church, because part of that is you need to be plugged in and get involved. Mm-hmm. Now, that's for practical in church ministry. If your ministry is kind of like your own ministry, find someone who has done or does what you want to do, and either get in contact and ask them to mentor you a little bit, or look at how they've done it, where they started, how they got there, how that looks, and try to emulate that, but with your own twist. Don't just copy. Emulate it with your own twist. I think that's kind of the two starting routes. Obviously, it'd be easy to say just go to college, go to a leadership school or ministry leadership school, Master's Commission, YWAM, all these different whatevers. But I think really ministry is one of those jobs where I don't think they necessarily care about your degree. You can really get your foot in the door without it. And most churches, not all, but I feel like most churches of a certain size and above, if you're volunteering and then you keep stepping up and you keep doing this, they're going to pay for your schooling. Mm-hmm. And it's a nice route. It's a really nice route to go. So,
speaking from someone who went to university for 4 years and graduated with a degree in pastoral studies, and then started applying for jobs and tried to get in ministry, that degree was not a free ticket into ministry anywhere. And to be honest, I would agree, most churches don't
pay attention to it too much
at all what degree you have. They care about who they know and who they have a connection with in a relationship.
Who's going to vouch?
And where did I end up working? The church I grew up in my entire life. And I have a lot of uncles in ministry, a lot of family in ministry. Who do they hire? They hire the people they know and they have connections with, and the people that they can trust. And those people were people who just started volunteering at their church, or maybe they were an intern at their church.
Yep.
Right? There was somebody that they saw just got involved. They just started doing something in ministry, started building a relationship, and then what do you know, when there was a need that needed to be filled, who was the first person in line?
Boom.
Joe Schmo, who's been serving for 2 years and working his butt off for us. I can trust that guy. I've seen him in ministry. I know him. I'm going to hire him over this random dude who's coming out of a school I don't know anything about.
Right.
For all I know, he's a total bum. Yeah. I'm going to pick this guy that I know and I trust.
Yep.
And so I think it's a little bit of a misconception sometimes that degree is like a free ticket in ministry. Mm-hmm. It might be for some jobs, but really ministry it's about connections and who you know and your relationships with people, and really it's about experience. And if you're considering going to school for ministry, I would still really recommend it, because I think what you can learn about the Bible through taking classes, the knowledge you can accumulate just about scripture and things like that, is valuable. It's worth something.
Yes.
But do not expect that to be your free ticket into a church somewhere. If you're going to go to school and get a degree, make sure you are still volunteering in ministry wherever you're. Find a church near the school you're at. Volunteer. Be in ministry. Be plugged in. A great thing about like North Central, that it was a requirement to do an internship with the church.
Right.
Which I think is one of the most valuable things that they do, because it forces you to get in the church and you start getting connected with people and you start getting real hands-on experience.
Yeah.
So even if you're never going to go to school for ministry, yeah, get plugged in, volunteer, call churches and ask, hey, would you be willing to take me on as an intern? Like, lots of churches have internship programs in place. They take interns every year, and they're totally willing to take anyone. Like, a lot of churches really like investing in people and helping them actually get their foot in the door in ministry. Just talk to them, ask them.
And if I could recommend, don't be afraid of small churches.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, you're more likely to develop skills and a real understanding of ministry through a smaller to middle-sized church rather than a mega church. There's no shade to mega churches. They do great things. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I've known quite a few people who have volunteered at mega churches, tried to get experience. Even the guy that would run out and grab the famous pastor's podium and pull it out of the way when he's done. Like, that's what he's volunteering and doing. Guess what? That stuff, yes, okay, cool. You're doing ministry, you're volunteering at a church. But where are you actually going to get ministry experience? And there was this one spicy meme, as it were, that I posted years ago before I learned social media sucks. Is that, man, everybody wants to go on a mission trip, but nobody wants to volunteer in the nursery. And it's like, that is true. And let it sink in, and don't get all mad at me and say, well, what if you don't feel, because I had somebody do this, what if you don't feel called to the nursery, but you feel called to a mission trip? It's like, the principle's the same as whether you can serve. That's what it is. And that's where the connection is most important, because like I said, you want to be in youth or you want to be in kids, vice versa, whatever, but they don't have an opening. Just get into a ministry there at the church, because here's the deal. The connection is they see you and they're like, servant-hearted. Servant-hearted, willing to do what we ask, put in the work, and we've trusted them with this, and they've proven that they can be a good steward. They're proven that they can be trusted. That right there means more than any degree. Because guess what? They can pay and get you a degree. They can pay for and get you a degree. What they can't do from Joe Schmo from NCU or Southeastern or wherever with a pastoral degree is they don't actually know if he's trustworthy. They don't actually know if he's servant-hearted.
They don't know if he can even talk to someone.
Right. They don't know any of that. But if they've seen that, guess what? Internship, they'll pay you to get your degree, and that stuff is teachable. The servant-hearted, really, to be honest, what I've learned, only the Lord can really teach that in somebody. And sometimes that depends on the willingness and obedience of the person. And not that everybody's this way, but a lot of people that go through university do have a certain level of, I'm prepared, I'm ready, I already know. And they're less open to something being instilled in their heart and their life. That's not all of them, but there's a trap door. As I say, there's always a trap door. The good awesomeness of going to university and having this, and having the knowledge and the lessons and the learning and all that, there's a trap door there for some arrogance or haughtiness or piousness that reduces the ability to be humble and let the Lord work on you. Or even when you come in and your pastor's like, hey, I need you to do this. What? No, that's not what I learned at North Central, or that's not what I learned at Swag U, or whatever. I was calling it Swag U because Sag U is stupid. But that's not what I learned there. But then it's like, okay, yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't want you here because you're not willing to stand on your head when I ask you to. Because that's the thing. The level of leadership is you got to trust that person above you is submitting to the Lord and trusting them. All right. Even times when you disagree with them in your head, and then just shut up and go around. Then I guess that's another thing. That's not part of getting started in ministry, but that's just another thing to throw on, is just being able to submit to authority. But we kind of talked about it. But getting started in ministry, the other side of it is a lot of people I know that are like, well, I want to start a podcast, or I just want to start like sharing stuff with people. Start a freaking YouTube channel, start a blog, do it on social media. Just start doing, because if you can't do it there, you're not doing it elsewhere. Like if you can't be operating in this safe environment, how do you know that you're going to operate here? Just start doing it. When it comes down to it, just start.
It really is.
If you want a freaking podcast, start a freaking podcast.
Yeah.
Like if you want to start a blog, you want to start getting your thoughts and what the Lord is doing in your life, get it out there. There's no one stopping you. Just put up your phone, post a video on Facebook. It doesn't need to be Casey Neistat vlog.
Yeah.
Like just start talking about it, start doing it. You know, like that's the be all end all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, some people tell me all these great ideas, and I'm like, awesome, do it. And then they're like, well, I'm going to wait for this. Okay, you're never going to do it. That's what I'm hearing. Because you're never going to arrive.
Yeah, totally not.
And I'm preaching to the choir because I have so many things that I want to do that I haven't started yet. And there's no reason why, different books and stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there is. Obviously, we talked earlier about preparing yourself and taking some time to prepare and making investments into your spiritual life and stuff, but at the same time you also you can't wait until you're completely perfectly ready to get started, because you won't ever be perfectly ready. You won't ever arrive, like you said. And so there's a balance towards, okay, I've taken some time to prepare, I've invested, I feel ready, and now I'm just gonna take a step. If I feel this is where God's leading me to go, I'm just gonna take a step to just start doing something about it. I'm gonna get involved somewhere. I'm gonna start talking to people. I'm gonna talk to my pastor and say, I want to start getting involved in ministry. I'm just gonna do anything I can to just get my foot in the door. And if it's truly what God has called you to and leading you to, and you're being proactive about stepping into that, He's gonna provide for you. He will open doors for you. I truly believe that
absolutely
the Lord will open doors if that's what He has for you. But He can open all the doors He wants, but if you're not willing to just take a step and walk through those doors, then
it's not going to matter.
Who cares? So just start doing something about it.
Seriously.
As simple as that.
I mean,
on it, like church, ministry, all that, it's so much more practical than it seems. Like getting involved in it is as practical as it could literally be like the person who started volunteering in kids ministry is now the kids pastor.
Yep.
Like that was my mom. There was a need in the church. Okay, there's not really much for kids ministry. My mom's like, all right, I'll help out. I'll starts doing kids ministry. It starts growing and doing really well. And then now she finds herself in a actual position as the kids director in the church. That's so many situations. I would say
absolutely. More
often than not, that's the way people find themselves in ministry over getting a degree and getting hired on a church straight out of college. That's just what a lot of times what it is.
Absolutely. And that's it. Oh man, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Crap. But yeah, it's really easy to get into, to start. It's really there's not many avenues. Here you go. Here's your avenues, and guess what? All of them are optional. There's the very free method, and then there's the expensive method. But guess what? They're all there.
It can work.
You can do any one of them. Here's the thing. Staying in them.
Yeah.
Lasting, like we said, 8 years, 9 years, that's a long time in ministry. Youth pastors, it's down to a year and a half is the average at one church. So it's just staying in ministry is the hard part.
And what we talked about earlier to start off the podcast, all those things, is investing in your personal spiritual life and building spiritual disciplines, learning how to rest, all those things.
Get
developing good
mentor.
friendships. Get a mentor. Those are really good ways to stay in.
Get married.
Yeah, get married.
I 100% I'm not saying obviously don't rush anything, and obviously you can do ministry single.
Yeah.
But ministry with a partner, not even that they're a partner in ministry, but just to have a partner in life.
It helps.
You're so much. I now no longer question churches that say the individual has to be married. When it posts the job posting and it says married individuals, married couples, not individuals. But that sort of thing changes your ministry. And then on top of that, good relationships, get a good spiritual, physical, mental routine in your life. Get that organized and straightened out. You know, spiritual aspect is above and beyond understanding that. One thing that we didn't necessarily touch on that we'll touch on really quick, though this could be a total podcast of its own, is life above reproach and sacrifice, is dying to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it is no longer about what your desires are. It is why I don't reference, or when a kid asks me, oh, have you seen this movie? I say, oh, I'm not sure. Even if I know that I have, I'm not trying to lie. I'm like, usually what I'll say is, oh, I've seen parts of it. Because that's not a lie. I have seen parts of it. But the thing is Life Above Reproach, I'm not going to give them the okay to go watch this movie. Like, Life Above Reproach, my dad is probably one of the best people I've ever seen at it, because he's just given up so many things, and I'm just like, I don't know if I could ever do that much. But like, it's setting aside what your preference is, and well, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a problem with going and having a casual drink, and then I'm gonna post with my buddies, and here we are with the drink in the picture. Guess what? If you want to be in ministry, don't do it. And I know people that do that, and they're in ministry, and to each their own. Don't freaking look at me. And I know that there's plenty of things in my life that I got to figure out with Life Above Reproach and all these different things. I'm just saying there's a balance to that, and you got to figure that out. That is definitely something that I've needed to be better at in my entire span of life. But really, it's a huge deal. That's why I hate having my movies on display when I'm at my house. Because if students come over and it's like, oh, you own this movie? Movies are a big thing about that. Music that I listen to. It's why I don't listen to the music very much in like the cars or anything like that, you know, and try not to whatever. And yeah, so it's just keep that in mind. Sorry, that's a total side note. Just wanted to talk about it quick.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for that.
Be aware of that. Yeah, be aware. You just gonna have to give up certain things personally.
Because that sucks in ministry a little bit.
Just learning how to.
I'm not trying to rap.
Yeah, you just can't be. You don't want to be a stumbling block to people.
Yeah.
It's just unnecessary, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is the music or movies I watch really worth like getting in the way of somebody
compromising
like,
ministry
growing spiritually or something?
Right.
Like,
right.
Just, you gotta kind of count the cost there a little bit and just be realistic about that.
Yeah. But all of this to say, ministry is one of the most rewarding and awesome jobs.
Yeah.
And just callings
totally
upon
is.
life. I hope not all of this sounded super negative.
Maybe we made it seem negative, but
not trying
part
to.
of the thing we're wanting to do is just be realistic too, because another reason why people don't last so long in ministries, I don't think they have a realistic understanding of what they're getting into, so they're not preparing properly because they don't know what they're preparing for.
Like,
you know,
what we talked about is your idea of, oh, I think it'd be so awesome to start this blog, you know, of this thing. Well, guess what? Your blog is gonna get average 2 views for the next year. Let me know in a year how it goes. And I'm not saying that like negative against you, but I'm saying, are you still gonna have the calling, or is this just a motivation and a passion type deal? The calling is gonna keep you going whether everybody's listening or nobody's listening.
Totally.
So like, that's where it's like trying to set the realistic expectation going into ministry. You just think about the God moment. How many people am I going to reach? How many outreaches am I going to speak at? And all these different things. Guess what? There's going to be a time you book an event, you're going to show up, and there's going to be 5 kids.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? You know, showing up to somewhere and say, oh, sorry, we don't have your check right now. And you're like, I need that check because I need gas money to get home. Okay, no, I'm still going to speak. You know, I'm still going to do what I'm like. Yeah, so all that stuff. Why are you there? And a lot of this stuff is to, 1, we just wanted to help prepare, and then 2, set the realistic expectation that along with all the good things you're thinking about, because guess what? Those are all true. God moments, all that stuff. But then there's a lot of earthly things that go along with this because we're human and we're dealing with humans. So it's always going to be messy. Always. Can you sit across from the most sinnest of sinners and be gracious? Can you do that? Can you sit in a meeting with whatever your list is? Well, I just shoot them in the head. I hear that all the time from people talking about pedophiles. It's like, could you sit in the room as a person in ministry and minister to them? Or are you just going to shoot them in the head? Let me know. Can you do that? And I know that's really extreme, but like setting the realistic expectation of it all. But I think we covered a frick ton.
Yeah, we did talk about so much stuff.
Like this could be like a whole series. Like
Kind of a broad topic.
It is.
Let's just talk
It
about
is.
ministry.
If there's anything that you guys want us that was from this, any of the topics that we talked about where you want us to go in depth on these things, tell us in the comments because gladly we will do it.
Totally.
Other than the week at camp, I don't foresee us really missing too much from. We'll be able to keep going on the podcast and stuff.
Back more into a rhythm. No.
You know, shout out McQuaid if he's listening.
Wait, why?
I met him at the wedding and he was just super awesome. He was incredible. He was more incredible than I could have imagined. Seriously. You know, and Sam and his pee-pee stories. But anyway, yeah, let us know if there's any of those topics you want us to talk about or if there's other ministry questions.
Yeah.
Or if you want to hear cool ministry stories, although some of those can't necessarily talk about.
That would be an interesting podcast though. Just share like just random stories in ministry, fails in ministry, or good success stories.
Some of the best, maybe. Yeah, like I said, this is like could be easily a series.
Talk so much about
100%.
Just life in ministry.
But let us know what you guys want to hear, see. Let us know in the comments because that's one of the reasons. Not putting all the blame on you. One of the reasons why it's hard to keep doing the podcast so consistently is because sometimes it's hard to like think of topics.
It's true.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
So let us know what would be interesting.
We have an email too, right?
Oh yeah, we do. truthispodcast1@gmail. I think.
So you could email questions.
I'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure.
If you're too embarrassed to type in the comments. Never. But yeah, Truth Is Podcast.
Hour and 20.
Woo!